Perfect. Thank you, Will. So I want to thank everybody for joining us. This is awesome to see so many people here. And I know this is a difficult time and things are weird, but we just want to keep in touch with everybody and make sure that we're helping you as much as you can. We're here for you and supporting you. And we appreciate you coming and joining us and supporting us. So I want to thank everybody, big thank you to everybody that supported Bluebonnet Palace. As you know, their money, comes from weekend events. And so they've been cranking out lots of food for everybody and trying to get everybody fed and make some money and pay their staff that way and keep everybody employed over there. So thank you for supporting them. They said they had 40 pre-ordered steaks, which is amazing. I love hearing that everybody's supporting them. So thank you to everybody that did that. And thank you to Bluebonnet Palace. They're not usually open on Tuesdays. So they opened up to do this for us to try to just do something different, and then offering a ribeye for 15 bucks. Thanks again for that too. So definitely want to thank them. And thank you, Will, for running this Zoom. Without you doing this, I would be completely lost. So I really appreciate you doing all of this. And of course, thank you to Mitzi for keeping track of all you guys popping in and out so that she can do these door prizes later, which I don't know if you guys pay attention to the Facebook or not, but we've gotten some really good door prizes in today. So good luck to everybody. And then I want to give a shout out to somebody who already gave a shout out. I want to shout out Kevin with Cartwheel Communications. Him and Shaz worked really hard on adding a COVID link on a page on our web page. So there's a lot of information there and a link to a YouTube channel where we're going to start uploading some videos. If you're a member and there's something that you would like, you have a specialty in and you have an update in your industry, say real estate, you want to update everybody on the real estate industry, how things are going with that, submit a video. We'll put it on the YouTube channel. So it's going to be another added resource for you guys. Hopefully, we're going to get maybe an accountant to come in and talk about all these crazy, the loans and things that have been coming in, get a bank to do a video. We're going to have a medical video put up there. So that's on our txtricountychamber.org website. So be sure to check that out. And thank you again, Kevin and Shaz, for working together and getting that up so quickly. We appreciate you. And I wanted to shout out my board and diplomats. We've been meeting periodically to try to keep things going and figure out what we're going to do in this crazy time. So thank you guys for taking time out of your busy schedules to help me keep everything together. We're gonna start doing member spotlights. So I'm gonna do a live Facebook video every Thursday at 2. And I am starting with one of our hero sponsors. So this Thursday at 2 o'clock, I'm gonna go live at 1908 and the Kindling. And I'm gonna talk to Liz and Jamie about what they have going on over there, what changes they've made, obstacles they've come into, and also they're announcing their new small event center that they're going to have on their property as well, where they can have small weddings or events of any type. So be watching for those on Thursdays at 2. I know that if anybody would like a member spotlight, shoot me an email. Kelly already emailed me that he would like one, so we'll be going to Leapfrog the following week. If I have a lot to do, I might start doing them twice a week. And if I do, I'll let you guys know. So be watching the Facebook for that. Anything you want to submit to me to go into the newsletter, any specials you have, any changes you have in hours or operations, send it to me. Even if you don't have time to put together, say, a little flyer or whatever, send me the information and I'll put together something to put in the newsletter. I really want everybody to support each other as much as possible. Tri-County is a family. It's not your normal chamber. We are all very close. I talk to pretty much everybody on this screen at least weekly. So let's, support each other as much as we can. If and any information you have, send it to me and I'll push it out to everybody also. We have chosen to not do a mixer this month because last month we had, I think, 8 people, which it's not that wasn't fun, because I still enjoyed seeing those 8 people. But we just decided that we were not going to do the mixers. I think that we'd just push out information in other ways. And everybody, I think, the joke is everybody's drinking right now, and their recycle guy is leaving AA, flyers on people's recycling cans and things like that. So, everybody's doing their own thing. We haven't decided about the luncheon next month, if it's going to be Zoom or how we're going to do it. It's, might be possible to move forward and have a face-to-face luncheon, like not over the computer, but we will give you guys that information, obviously, as soon as we know. Don't forget, I posted on Facebook. If you don't follow us, make sure and go like us on Facebook. The Thunderbirds are doing a flyover. The Air Force Thunderbirds are doing a flyover San Antonio tomorrow at 1:20. I just posted the flight path that they posted today. So that's on our Facebook now too. It'll be really cool. And the flight path is they're gonna, make their rounds around San Antonio. So, and if you guys want to take pictures of it, if you get a good close view, take pictures and send them in or put them on Facebook and tag us in them. That'll be great. We try to keep a really good relationship with JBSA, and they're really excited about this. So be sure and get out there, and everybody look in the sky tomorrow about 1:20. If they cancel it due to weather, I'll send something out probably via text and on Facebook, just to make sure everybody knows. So you're not all standing around going, and then nothing's happening and you're just waiting and thinking they're late. Although I might do that to y'all, that'll be fun. I think that's really the only announcements that I have right now. So I'm going to push it over to Gabe. Is he? Oh, there he is. I'm going to push it over to Gabe for a minute to talk to you guys and introduce Arturo. I don't know what he wants to go by, because I know Gabe calls him on a different relationship. So without further ado, our wonderful chair, Gabe Farias.
Well, let me start by asking, does he look like an Arturo? That's like the first question. First of all, can y'all hear me? Yes or no? Nod yes if you can hear me. Yes. Nod yes, everybody. Wow. Okay, good. I just wanted to see if I could make all you guys nod, and I could. My first thought is, what character would I be playing if this were the Brady Bunch? Because like the first thing I see when I look at everybody in this grid is the Brady Bunch. And you look down, at least I'm looking at the grid, and you see a second Gabe Farias. So don't look at that Gabe Farias and think, oh my God, Gabe is sick. What's wrong with him? If I was a much handsomer, smaller Caucasian man, that's exactly what I would look like, is Art Campsey, who's going to be our special guest, talking about things that are happening out in the community when it comes to health and wellness. On the chamber front, yes, I'm the chair of the board. I'd like to thank all you guys for taking the time to come out and join us, fellowship, talk about what you guys have got going on. There's still a lot of synergy with this organization. There's a lot of synergy in the Tri-County area. And it's to see the variety and the different businesses that are here continuing to support our chamber and to continue to support our commerce and our community. Mindy, Will, great job of organizing this and putting this together. And to our board, a lot of them stepped up and they bought more plates than they were going to consume in an effort to give them to some of our members who might either need them or who are thinking about joining our organization. So thank you for everything you guys are doing to keep this organization going, viable. To the diplomats, you guys are doing a fantastic job. But yeah, today I'm wearing two hats, not only as the chair, but I'm also the Chief Operating Officer for Kellum Family Medicine right here on 3009. We've got a location an OB location in San Antonio there in Westover Hills. So we have two clinics, but we're a general practice firm, general practice clinic here in the Tri-County area. We've got a great group of providers led by Dr. Kellum, Dr. Arthur Gonzalez. We've got a nurse practitioner, Tina Molinet, and we've got our wonderful PA, Art Campsey. Art is a superstar in the community. I know that and your kids are patients of Art. Art's been with us for a few years and is just a big part of not only the clinic itself, but of the leadership team. He's the director of providers. He's the one that leads. So technically, Dr. Kellum works for him on the provider side. But again, he's one of our dynamic guys. He's the guy that's leading a lot of efforts that we have here on the health and wellness front. And Mindy, if we can unmute Gabe Farias #2, so Art can take over the meeting, guys. I'd like to open it up to Art Campsey, who again is a provider of ours. If you guys have any questions about anything that's happening health and wellness in the community, he'll do the best to answer. But Art, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Honored to be here. I've been a part of Kellum Family Medicine coming up on 6 years now. Unfortunately, Dr. Kellum wasn't able to be with us today, so I'm filling in. Fortunately, I'm not nearly as tall as he is, but I've got way more hair, so I think that balances out pretty well. So, but I'm here at your disposal. If there's anything I can, any questions you've got, shoot right ahead. And in terms of health and wellness, happy to help.
All right, can y'all hear me still?
Yes.
Okay, Art, right quick. Can you talk a little bit, because COVID-19, the coronavirus, it's what dominates not only health and wellness, it's what dominates society. Can you talk a little bit about what we do here at Kellum and what I'm sure most doctors' offices are doing to provide the necessary precautions on preventing any type of those types of illnesses to spread in your doctor's office and also just out in the community? What are we doing here at Kellum to keep our patients safe?
Sure. In our office, what we're doing, we're screening everybody before they walk into our doors. Not everybody, as we know, not everyone with COVID-19 has symptoms, but we're doing our best to identify those who do, and limiting exposure as much as we can. We're screening everybody for respiratory symptoms and for fevers at our door. We have tested probably 10 or 12, maybe 15 positive COVID-19 patients in our office. Fortunately, not a single one has walked in through our doors. We've done a great job of identifying those folks at the door, and then testing them in their car at curbside. And we've been very fortunate to have been really from the beginning taking these testing screenings to make sure that not only are we keeping our patients safe, but also ourselves as well. We're not on the front lines, but we're right behind those folks. And the folks in the front line, we've got to take care of them, our healthcare workers, as much as the rest of the community as well. In terms of other things that generally the public can do, there's been a lot of controversy about wearing masks. Wearing masks doesn't necessarily prevent you from being exposed to something, but what it does is the idea, remember, it's the way that the virus is spread is through air droplets or water droplets coming from your respiratory system. So if we can slow down the spread of your water droplets, your air droplets coming from your respiratory, and preventing the spread of those droplets to other people, and then if we all as a community make these changes, that's where wearing a mask can in theory be helpful. It's not going to do a lot of protection in terms of preventing you from breathing somebody else's air, and that's really where the concern comes. The concern comes from making sure that we're not sharing the same air, if you will, which is where the social distancing, the 6 foot parameter comes in, trying to stay 6 feet away from folks so that you've got circulating air that you're not increasing your potential risk of exposure to somebody else. I know we're as a society, as a communities opening up slowly, and I think that that's the right approach. I know there are a lot of business owners here, and everybody is concerned with making sure that you are doing your job at trying to prevent the spread of this just as much as we are as individuals, as business owners at Kellum Family Medicine, and you all here in the community. We've got to make sure that we're all doing our part, and so following guidelines, making sure that we are limiting risk not only to our employees but to our customers as well. These are important things to do. Any questions specifically on how you would like I can address questions on your business or your spaces. or any specific questions about the spread or what we can do to prevent the spread of COVID-19?
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
My name's Brennan, and I was just curious, how long do you think it will be before we can actually have social contact again and not wear masks? Do you have, a guess?
I would love to answer that question for you. To be honest, I can't give you a direct answer to that question because I'm very interested to see what happens in the next 2 to 3 weeks after we start reopening in generally Bexar County and the greater San Antonio area starts to reopen. I'm interested to see where those numbers go. I think that the governor and all of our communities have really done a fantastic job of doing what we can to prevent the spread. And to be honest, I'm more concerned or maybe more interested about the next 2 to 3 weeks coming up than I have been for the last month or so, because we will have just by nature increased exposure, and if that turns into hospitalizations are in my mind the most important criteria that we should be looking at, because what we're trying to do with all of the social distancing, with we're advising people not to hug their mom on Mother's Day, this social contact. The idea is that we're not just flattening the curve, which is kind of a term that everybody's heard, but the idea is that we don't overwhelm our healthcare system. My biggest concern for folks at Northeast Methodist and Mike Beaver's folks, my biggest concern is that we overwhelm our healthcare system and we can't take care of the folks who really need healthcare when they need it. So the idea is that we're not just flattening the curve, but we're extending the curve so that when people get sick, we have the ability to care for them when they need it. I can't, that's a little above my pay grade. Maybe we'll talk to Dr. Fauci about when we expect this to happen. I'm interested, and I think we'll have a better idea in the next 2 to 3 weeks how our communities are going to respond to this gradual reopening. And if numbers don't spike in terms of hospitalizations, then I think we can start to maybe loosen up a little bit. But I would still practice as much caution as possible until we start to see those numbers come in the next 2 to 3 weeks.
Hey, Art, right quick,
Sure.
talk about treatment. So we have a patient come in, I'm just saying patient X comes in, and they test positive for it. Minor respiratory issues. Even though there isn't a said COVID-19 treatment, you treat symptoms, you treat issues as they come along. Talk about what you guys do, what we do when we do have a COVID-19 positive. It's obviously just a case-by-case basis. What kind of treatment? So what I'm trying to allude is that if you get it, it's not a death sentence. Or the rate of surviving this is high. The rate of not even showing symptoms is fairly high. But talk about the treatments and what you guys are using.
So there's not a treatment, and let's be clear about that. There are studies, probably hundreds of studies, certainly in the U.S. and then certainly more than that around the world, to identify treatments. And we've heard a lot of news in the last couple of weeks about vaccinations and those sorts of things. Let's be clear, there's not a treatment for the disease of COVID-19. What we're looking at, there is interest in a medicine, an antiviral medicine called remdesivir, which has at this point shown the most benefits in terms of treatment for severely ill patients. But Gabe, to your point, and we'll take the Bexar County Jail, where there were 360 something positive tests there. Up to 70% of those people. So if we take that and use that as a microcosm, up to 70% of the people that tested positive at the Bexar County Jail, 70% didn't have symptoms at all. They didn't have a clue that they had it at all. And so if we use that in the general population, and we'll have to, that's a small sample size, but if we use that as a general population, I will tell you, a lot more of us have had this than we probably realize. And hopefully, we're hopeful that that confers immunity. Immunity like when we get the flu shot, gives you some immunity so that your body is able to fight off an infection if we come in contact with that virus again. To go back to your specific question, what we do with most folks, most people are not going to have severe symptoms. So we treat your symptoms. We do recommend self-quarantining for 14 days. And then generally the recommendation is to retest. And once you have 1 or 2 negative COVID-19 tests, then you can unquarantine yourself at that point. But it's basically symptomatic treatment to go back to your question, Gabe. So we're managing a cough, so we can take anti-cough medicines, and we're managing fevers, and we're managing headaches with Tylenol. So we manage the symptoms. We call it symptomatic treatment as opposed to a specific treatment for the virus itself. Was there another question, Kevin?
Yeah, I have a question here that says many of us think that we've already had the virus. She was diagnosed in late February with a severe upper respiratory infection. So what do you think the possibility of us getting it again would be? There's a lot of conflicting information.
There is a lot of conflicting information. I haven't seen any evidence that it was in the Tri-County, South Central Texas. I haven't seen any evidence that COVID-19 or that the SARS-CoV-2 virus was detected here before early March. The first known U.S. diagnosis of COVID-19 was the first death, U.S. death from confirmed COVID-19 was February 6th in Pasadena, California. So there's evidence that the virus was here on U.S. soil, probably on the both coasts in California and in potentially New York. I have not seen evidence, and I'm not saying that that's not a possibility. I've had a lot of patients with a lot of the same questions. I'm not saying no, I'm just saying I haven't seen evidence that the virus was here at that point in early February or in late February. So to specifically answer that question though, in terms of your potential for reinfection if you have had it, if you've tested positive, that's a big concern right now. South Korea is noting that there's been another spike. South Korea, from the very beginning of February and March, they did potentially the best job out of any country in terms of identifying who had the virus and then separating those folks and caring for the people who had severe symptoms. And so I have the same concerns you do, that there is a potential for reinfection. Usually when we get an illness like the flu, our body creates these antibodies, which are like little foot soldiers that are specific to fighting off that one virus. And if we are re-exposed to that one virus, our body already knows how to fight it off and generally does a pretty good job of preventing a significant illness with that. I've been reading a lot about this, and the concern is that we don't always develop immunity to the common cold, and 1/3 to 1/2 of the common cold illnesses are due to different types of coronaviruses. And so the concern is that if this coronavirus, like other coronaviruses, does not confer immunity or does not create our body or allow our body to create an immunity to it, that we may not fully develop immunity to this after we've had it. I feel like I'm not answering anybody's questions completely. I apologize, but with that said, remember, we are in the infancy of this specific virus, and we are still learning every day how this virus works and its specific nuances relative to other viruses that have been around for a long time. So, we've known about this thing for 4 or 5 months. We are in the infancy of understanding how to fight this off. So I hope to have better and more complete answers, in the coming months. With that said, we're learning every day more and more about this virus. Good question, though.
Kevin has a question.
So going back to, so you can answer these questions. Obviously, it's all about data, right? So what, how available are the tests? I have a two-part question. How available are the tests? Can I go out and buy 1,000 of them right now and get a nurse to test my neighbors or my, a youth camp, kids at a youth camp? If I'm a youth camp in Kerrville, can I do that? Number one. And then number two, how soon are the antibody tests going to be available? That I know there's a lot of early preliminary stuff, but what's the anticipated date and roughly the cost to buy, 1,000 of those tests, for example? I'm just trying to get some idea on the timing for all that. Thank you.
Sure. Yes, sir. In terms of purchasing tests, my recommendation is to go through a medical provider. So it's not just about doing a nasal swab. It's got to be done in a very particular way to make sure that it is an accurate test. And really the shortage in terms of tests comes from, it's not that the lab can't run them. The shortage is when we take that nasal swab, we have to put it in a very particular container with a medium that allows for that virus to be tested for. And that is where we have the shortage. The swabs are not a big deal, right? The swabbing itself is not, that's not our limiting factor. Our limiting factor is making enough of those capsules that we put the swab in that has the medium. So I am not familiar, just like with any flu test, rapid flu test or rapid strep test, you generally have to have a medical license to be able to purchase tests like that. So I don't think that those are available to the general public. With that said, we are not very limited at this point on testing for the virus itself, right? Which is the nasal swab. I would recommend hiring a medical provider if you have, in that situation, if you want to test your camp counselors or your campers or something like that. Hire a medical provider who can obtain those tests for you, and then they can administer that test for you. In terms of antibody testing, great question. A lot of and the CDC and the FDA have taken a few steps back from where they were, where their stance was about a month ago, a month or five or 6 weeks ago. They said there are no restrictions on who can create an antibody test because we need to get antibody tests out there. The problem is that there are a lot of bad tests out there that are not accurate, and even for the tests that are FDA approved, the concern that I have, and frankly the reason that I haven't tested myself or my staff, is because they are not very specific. Like I said earlier, a third to a half of the common cold viral illnesses are caused by a type of a coronavirus. And the problem with the test is the COVID-19 antibody test, or the SARS-CoV-2 antibody test, is that it's not specific to having that specific virus. So you may have been exposed to a different type of coronavirus that caused a mild common cold, and it would potentially test positive that you have antibodies for the virus that causes COVID-19. So it's not specific to that virus. So we may get many false positives, and the concern that I have with a false positive is that may falsely give somebody maybe a little bit more hope that they can't get it, and that they may not take the precautions that we are still recommending that folks take during this time of uncertainty. So they're not specific to that virus. And then the other concern that we have, I mentioned earlier, is that having had the virus, even if you did have it, does not necessarily, we don't know if it confers immunity for every person that's had it. So my concern would be false positives, and maybe even kind of false hope that if you've had it, and you did have it, that you couldn't get it again. That's my concern with the antibody test. They are working on, yesterday, I believe it was, the first antigen test was approved. An antigen test is like when you walk in our office and we test you for the strep or the rapid flu test. That's an antigen test that is easy to do, that we can get within, answers within a few minutes. And so that has been recently, I think, primarily has been potentially approved by the FDA. Again, we're pumping out these tests is going to take time. I would expect to specifically answer your question, I would expect this to be months down the road. I don't think this is going to happen by Memorial Day. I'm hoping, personally, I'm hoping that I can have a 4th of July party with my friends. I'm hoping that 6 weeks or 7 weeks from now that we can get to a point where, we shouldn't be gathering in large spaces. And frankly, if you have comorbidities, if you have lung problems or lung diseases, if you have diabetes, if you have uncontrolled hypertension and blood pressure issues, we still have to be careful. We've got to be even extra, take extra precautions if we are at that higher risk potential.
I just want to say, when you said the swab was no big deal, I thought you meant like no big deal. I have personally been tested at Callum's office and it was a big deal. It hurt really bad. But then you clarified that was not what you meant. We have 2 questions. Why do you think there are such low cases at places like H-E-B and Walmart when people are in such close proximity? And the other question was, somebody had heard that the testing was $400 cash price.
I've seen a price of $250 for the viral testing, the virus testing, not the antibody testing. I've heard of people. I've heard of people selling the antibody testing for as little as $25. It just sounds, if it sounds too good to be true, it usually is, and so I have some real concerns with that. In terms of, so I have heard of kind of boutique providers advertising that they can test for, whatever it is, $200 or $400, opening up. Again, I have some pretty serious concerns with all the antibody tests, even the FDA approved ones right now. I just don't think that they provide really enough data. Back to what Kevin said, going back to data, I don't think that they provide enough solid data to make a lot of decisions on that. So I've seen price tag in terms of the testing for as little as $250, and I think that would be an appropriate price to pay. In terms of folks generally doing a pretty good job. I think H-E-B has done a great job, and Walmart as well has done a great job of protecting their staff, making sure that folks are wearing their masks. Again, it's not about protecting yourself, it's about caring for our community when we're wearing masks. But I think generally speaking, our communities have done a fantastic job of pushing precautions and staying home as much as you can, and not going out as when we don't need to. And we've really done a very good job, compared to other big cities, even Dallas and the DFW area. They've been hit much harder than we have, and so we've really done a very good job in the area.
Kevin, did you still have a question? No. Okay. Question regarding the new sickness that is affecting children more. Apparently, there's been 3 deaths of children in the New York area. They have had antibodies from COVID, but never presented the current symptoms, and they are developing a different type of virus or sickness.
Yeah, so it's not always, it's the complications from COVID-19 that if there is mortality from that, it's usually oftentimes the complications from what the virus does to us. In terms of this new development, very new as of I think maybe this weekend. And so I haven't seen data specifically from that testing, but I would expect to start seeing things like this. Just like every flu season, we have new flu shots because the virus over time mutates. And so we may start seeing, and the coronaviruses are known to do this as well. So we may start seeing some different types of infections as mutation occurs. And I haven't, again, seen specific data that that's exactly what happens here in terms of the mutating virus. But again, my understanding is that those were at-risk children, that they had either asthma or other types of respiratory disease that they had already been diagnosed with previously. So my understanding is that those two people and potentially the other ones that were sick from this different type of potential virus, I don't know what to call it yet, because we don't know what to call it yet, is those folks, those kids were at risk already. Another reason that if we have any sort of health issues whatsoever, make sure that we're doing everything we can to keep ourselves and our families healthy.
Any other questions out there? Raise your hand, type in the chat. No? Awesome.
All right. Well, Art, thank you very much. And folks, we have another member of the Kellum team that's here as well, Michelle Watson, who's a diplomat, and you see her all the time. She's a big part of the practice. She does our transition of care work for us, and she does some marketing work for us. So I just want to acknowledge that she was here as well. But Art, thank you so very much for joining us. A lot of good information, but there's still a lot of the unknown out there. And trust me when I say this, these guys, our providers here at Kellum, every day are studying this, are looking at this, are looking at data, are looking at trends, and are as good at doctors as any and providers in the state of Texas. So Art, thank you, my friend, very much for everything, for joining us.
Thank you, Art.
And remember, yeah, you know, like I said, we've got 3 providers here. You know, if you want to come down to the clinic, 210-945-2121. And we'll get you on the schedule to see either Art or Dr. Kellum or Tina Molinay or Dr. Gonzalez. But again, Art, thank you very much, buddy. Appreciate you taking the time. Go on, Joe. I bought him a steak, and then he tells me, you know, I'm a vegan, right? I'm like, oh, well,
that's not true.
You can have the green beans, and I'll eat your steak.
Thank you again. Thanks, Gabe. Thanks, Art. That was, I think, a lot of good information. Mike Beaver, we have a couple of minutes before we need to do the drawings. Is there anything that you feel like you want to add? And also, by a show of hands, who would like to have like a whole separate Zoom with a medical update from maybe Michael Beaver, and maybe have somebody from Dr. Kellum's office again to get some additional information and maybe have some more Q&A? Okay, I see enough hands. I think that we're gonna work on making that happen. But
hey, Mindy, can you hear me now?
We can.
Okay. So a couple things. First, Gabe, sorry y'all can't see me. I never could figure out the camera. Gabe did a really nice job. I appreciate the perspective he was able to give from a physician practice perspective. Another thing I want to mention to you about Gabe, while everybody can look at him on the screen, is not only is he a great caregiver, but he is incredibly philanthropic and gives of his time and volunteerism throughout the year. He was actually recognized earlier this year by Methodist Healthcare System for an award we have on an annual basis, thanking people for giving back to the community. And Gabe does a lot of mission work. He's done a lot of work.
Michael, I don't mean to cut you off, but that's Art Campsey you're talking about.
Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry, I'm looking at his name. Obviously, I mean Art.
Yeah.
Yeah,
no,
sorry.
I'll take the recognition, but hey,
yeah,
Art does deserve it.
Let's be clear. Everybody knows Gabe isn't good for anything, but Art, however, is really great. Thank you. Art, I'm sorry, I'm looking at your face, but I see Gabe and my name, my brain's playing tricks on me.
All
Anyway,
right.
Art's really done some phenomenal things in other countries even with this time, and I just wanted to give him that recognition. And we are eventually going to have that dinner. It's been postponed twice because of coronavirus. I wanted to mention just a couple of things real quick. You know, we are doing a lot of work at the hospital to provide the safe environment that we can, that Gabe was describing. I'm sorry, that Art was describing. You know, we have been doing screening at the doors. We do temperature checks. Anybody that comes in our hospital is masked. If you're a visitor or a patient or an employee or physician, doesn't make any difference. But one of the things we're really talking to our staff about right now is that as the community is opening back up, that's a great thing. But at the same time, that's also increasing the risk of transmission everywhere. So while human nature is for all of us to start to relax a little bit, I would encourage all of you to continue to be vigilant. You know, we want to open up the businesses, but make sure in your own individual business that you're doing the things that you can to exercise social distancing, make sure you have hand sanitation available, to mask your employees, encourage your customers to wear masks. Those are the kind of things that will help us continue to do what Art was describing and continue to flatten that curve and spread this out over a longer period of time where we can accommodate it. And it would also give us more time to work on some of those treatment tests that are going on across the country, literally hundreds of them. And every week that we learn a little bit more and how to treat the symptoms and potentially come up with a vaccine for it. Thank you, Mindy. Just in case anybody's wondering, that's me. That's really all I wanted to address. The one question that came up earlier about when do you think we'll be able to relax social contact and masking? I think we're starting to relax some of the social contact. My honest belief is that masking is going to be here for some time. I think it's entirely possible by the time kids go back to schools, they may be going back to school in masks. It just depends on how things unfold for the next several weeks and months, but that just could be a part of our new normal for some time.
Great, thank you again for that. And I will get in contact with you and Gabe again, and we'll arrange a full Zoom just for medical update and Q&A. And we'll get it cranked out pretty soon. And then we'll probably have another update later as we, as they are getting more information about this. So.
Great, it'd be my pleasure.
Thank you. So thank you guys, all three of you. I appreciate all the information and want to thank everybody again for joining us. And now is the fun part. We're going to kick it over to Mitzi Delgado to randomly draw winner. So we're going to go down the line of the list that I have. The first name that's drawn is getting a $15 gift card to Tropical Smoothie donated from Stacy Melton with EXP while she was sitting by her husband in the hospital bed. Thank you, Stacy, for that. Good to see both of y'all on here. I saw Jason sitting up and looking completely normal. So that's incredible and crazy at the same time. Love you guys. So go ahead, Mitzi.
Okay, so since there was some question last time, so let's show up here. Hold on, I'm gonna have to turn my thing off real quick. Okay, so there are 37 names, which accounts for the 33 participants, plus the fact that there are 2 people with JC and there are 4 people at Church Bank. So everyone is in here. All right, here's the first one. So see, all right, who does that say? Shannon.
Shannon Collier?
Yes.
Shannon Collier, winner. I think you know how to get a hold of Stacy to get your gift card.
It's rigged. It's rigged. I already know it's rigged.
Stop it. All right.
Congratulations. The next one is going to be 1 year domain and hosting from Shanks Web Development. Thank you for that donation. Also, you guys, it's really important right now to be online. So this is a pretty cool door prize. So the next winner is?
I can't see it. Like I'm trying to do it while it's up there.
Everybody's like,
where's that? Oh,
Sharon Garza. Hey, that's awesome for your business. Yay, she's excited. Okay. Awesome. I will email you that certificate and the and Shankar's web or email address so you can get that going. The next one is going to be a Leapfrog Arctic. It's from Leapfrog. It's an Arctic bag and it's loaded. I'm not sure what it's loaded with, but I think it's loaded with maybe a little bit of alcohol. So if you can see Kelly, if you can't, scroll to find it in the blue.
That's funny.
Awesome. Jason Delgado. Here we go. They're going to say it's rigged again.
I know. That's why I'm leaving it up here on the screen. I swear it's not.
I think I speak for the rest of the room when I say boo.
Okay. So thank you, Kelly, for that donation. The next one is going to be one of the 2 Fiesta medals from the Hilton Garden Inn at Live Oak, donated by the none other than Miss Rachel Clark. Let's see. Kelly Smith. Winner, you get that Fiesta medal. I posted that on Facebook also. I posted pictures of everything on Facebook, but I don't know if you guys are seeing that. And the next item is a bottle of wine donated from Stacy Melton with eXp Realty. Mark Roberts, bottle of wine. Woohoo! Lori will love that.
Just what I need, more alcohol.
The next one is the second medal from Hilton Garden Inn. The next Fiesta medal goes to Mark Sunderman. You can give that to Regina because I know Regina collects Fiesta medals. So.
Oh, that was it.
Yeah. We will arrange for you to get that. And the next one is $50 cash from Hunter Mania. Ben Hunter sent me a picture of a $50 bill. Goes to...
Oh, wait, we'll do it again.
Bill Fanning. See, you're getting paid to run the Zoom.
Woohoo!
And $25 Amazon gift card from TLC Lawn. Thank you, Jerry and Kathy. I was going to call your daughter's name, but it's not fun anymore. Ben Hunter. Benjamin. See, you guys know my theory. If you give, then you receive. So all of these people have been giving and they're receiving. $50 gift card from Cartwheel Communications goes to Kevin Haddis. Just kidding. Rachel Clark. Okay, so one more. I'll just go over it one more time. I want to shout out everybody that donated door prize. Oh, wait, we missed a bottle of wine from Shirts Big and Trust. We got one more bottle of wine. You guys still have a chance. One more bottle of wine from the guys at Shirts Big and Trust goes to Jerry Perkins. Awesome. All right, so again, I just want to shout out everybody that made those donations. I have a list of everybody that won. I'll get you in contact with each other. So thank you, Stacy with eXp, who also she also donated the 2 steak plates that were raffled off yesterday. So 2 of the steak plates were donated by her, and the other 5 were donated by the board. Gabe, Will, and Missy donated to that. So thank you guys for those donations. So again, want to thank Stacy Melton, Shankar with Shank's Web Development, Kelly with Leapfrog Productions, Hilton Garden Inn, Rachel, and Hunter Mania, Ben Hunter, and TLC Lawn Care and Cartwheel Communications. Thank you guys. Everybody loves a door prize. And those that give, you look, then you receive. If anybody wants to do a door prize the next time we do it, just you can email me, or if we actually get to go hang out together in person, you can bring it. So I think we're done here. If you want to unmute everybody so we can all say our goodbyes, or if there's anybody that has anything.
Max 2 days, possibly even 1 work day.
See everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Bye. Good to see everybody.
Thank you all again for coming.
Great job, Nick.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Will.
Take
Stay
care.
safe out there.
Be safe.
It's sad but fun to watch all the goodbyes.
Bye-bye. Bye.
All right.
And then they just, yeah, it's sad but fun to watch all the goodbyes. I like to watch it again. Oh. So I would love to stay and chat, but now I got to go get my hair done. And of course it just started pouring here. I noticed that JC said it was pouring, and then Mitzi said it was pouring over there, and JC lost power for a minute. And so now it's pouring over here, and I have to drive back to Selma to get my hair did.
Okay, yeah, I mean, that's, I
think Shankar's talking to somebody else. I muted him back up, so. All right, I think we're good.
All right, thank you guys, thank you. I'll send out emails, you know, with information for the door prizes and stuff, and we'll touch base soon.
Okay, see you everybody.
Bye.
Bye.